So Rachel, you're out in central Iowa?
My connection might be slow.
Yeah, I'm in central Iowa.
Gotcha.
Yep. I'm gonna help keep picking up sticks after work.
I'm still out on the left side.
Yeah.
We got a busy couple days coming up. We have so many farms to get droned.
Yeah.
Gonna be good. We got another new drone set up last night and all the firmware installed on it, so we're one up again now.
That's good.
Yeah. Very good.
You went out and bought that one, or you bought it online?
Yeah, we bought, so that'd be that's drone number 5. We went out and bought another one. So now we should never run out. Everybody should have one constantly.
Mm-hmm.
No more trading back and forth. Looks like we made her live.
I think so. It's trying. The gears are grinding, but we've had kind of spotty service after that storm. So if this works today, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So you're out in Northeast Iowa. How are utilities out that way now? Are they starting to come back?
So where I'm at, I'm just north of Cedar Rapids, but Cedar Rapids is in horrible condition. So, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone down there. And it's kind of scary to see the footage of everything, and definitely trying to stay out of the area just so people can get their work done. But we were lucky. The farm did not sustain any damage. My parents' farm did not sustain much damage. So we're definitely counting our blessings and seeing what we can do to help. So
have you seen that satellite picture or image that's circulating in social media that shows there's a before and after? It's like July 24th and then August 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows, from satellite image, you can see the crop damage over such a wide area. And I have to say, I said it on my own Facebook last night. We went into that particular area to work on August 12th on some farms that we have in the area that was affected. And, I've been around for 48 years. I've seen crop damage before, and I was a police officer for 22 years. I've followed tornadoes, and I've seen the damage that tornado does to corn. But I have never seen anything like what we saw on August 12th. I mean, it's just locally and in a small spot, I've seen that type of damage before, but I've never seen it over such a wide area. It's just amazing that mile after mile after mile, county after county, it just keeps going. I mean, we're just driving down Highway 30 and the damage just never stops. You really kind of start to run into it around Denison. You start to see the spotty, some corn down here on a hillside. And then as you get to Carroll, it starts to intensify. And then past Carroll over into the Jefferson area, it's just utterly amazing how much is wiped out there. And I wouldn't talk about it so much, but it's just, I just can't explain it. I've never seen anything like that before. They're saying now 1 billion bushels, 10 million acres affected by it. And I can't even imagine.
They said it's like a third of the Iowa crop this year.
Yeah, a third of the crop. And then on top of that, if 2020 could get any weirder or any crazier, I mean, I don't know how many more things we can really fit into this. And on top of it, we know that we've got an election coming in November. It's just amazing that farmers have suffered for a series of years now. And, in the farming world, there's always next year. And 2020, I think, for a lot of people was that next year. In its own way, it was the year that, gosh, I really need this year to go right to, continue on what I'm doing. And I'm just really afraid that 2020 is going to be the one that kind of seals the deal for a lot of people. I sure hope not. And my thoughts, I think about them constantly about what a difficult position that is, because in 2020, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. I mean, from the COVID pandemic to drought that we've suffered throughout the entire year, the issues of losing the restaurants, a lot of things, accumulated to the pandemic, the continued and sustained low commodity prices that we've been dealing with, just there's nothing that's gone right for these people in 2020. It's a difficult situation. So the world's going to march on. We all know that. It just might look a little bit different after this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a depressing topic. You can keep your mind wrapped on it for far
Yeah.
too long, but it's always good to look towards the next thing and keep that mindset going, you know.
There's always next year. And, you know, my gosh, if there's anything we can do to help somebody, we certainly will. And I'm not talking about in a business sense.
Right.
You know, somebody needs something to reach out. I know that there's plenty of issues and things to be worked on, and we'll at least get you on the right resources for darn sure.
Mhm. Well, yeah, our thoughts are with everyone. Today, we are coming on Facebook Live to talk about our online land auctions. You know, it's something we're really passionate about, something that Jason and Nicole and Tom have been working on for over a decade, I think now. So it's an exciting topic, and we're going to be covering kind of the history of online land auctions with DreamDirt, what sets us apart in the industry, and kind of why we're so passionate about them. So we have myself, Jason Smith, and Rachel Hoy on today, and we'll just be having a conversation. So we can kick it off that with coronavirus, you know, a lot of online auctions have become more popular. You see them more often because it's a great resource when you can't be in person at an auction. You know, these online auctions have really taken off. And they might seem like a new fad, but we actually had a hand in bringing them about roughly a decade ago. And I didn't know, Jason, if you could tell us how DreamDirt really came to pioneer online land auctions.
I can. And before I get started, though, Tom Bradley's missing today. He's on vacation, and he did ask me to say hi to everybody. So hello from Tom Bradley. And I hope Tom's out there watching. He said that he might be able to tune in and watch, but he's also trying to get some rest and relaxation. So with that, to your question, you know, how did we get involved? When you look at the history of DreamDirt, you know, up to a certain point, we've been a live and online auction company. So in other words, we've done a lot of live in-person, live outcry, you know, fast talking auctioneer auctions. And, you know, the auctioneers in our company are those type of auctioneers. If you were questioning whether live auctions and online auctions aren't a real auction, you know, it's something that just mimics it. No, all of us are real auctioneers. We talk fast. We do all that. But that talk fast stuff is about 5% of what even a live auctioneer does. The real magic behind an auctioneer is their audience, their marketing system, and their methods. And so in the time that we began doing this, I kind of got to go back in my history. Around 2005, I was looking for an exit from my law enforcement career. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I had just gone back to college for the second time to learn about business administration and study business administration. And in that, I spent a lot of time studying marketing and taking marketing classes, which, you know, really piqued my interest. But again, I was looking for an exit from law enforcement, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And one day I saw this ad for real estate agents, said that you could be your own boss, you could set your own schedule, and you could make as much money as you wanted to. And all three of those were pretty appealing. Now, you know, I was a police chief, so I literally was tied to a radio almost constantly, or a telephone. I had no free time. I spent the first 20 years of my adult life just literally connected to society in every way, all of the time. Didn't take vacations, rarely ever got to go anywhere. I just was always involved. So that idea of setting my own schedule was really cool. And so I ended up getting a real estate license and starting to sell real estate. And the day come where I lost a real estate deal to an auctioneer. And the client told me, he said, you know, I thought the auctioneer could do a better job. I was about a year or so into my career. So I thought, wow, geez, if he could become an auctioneer, I wonder if I could become an auctioneer. So I began looking, and I became an auctioneer. I went to school, Worldwide College of Auctioneering in Iowa, and was trained by Paul Bear, and kind of got a glimpse of that world. And I got to tell you, you know, the 10 days of auctioneering school kind of changed my mind about life and about marketing, about the efficiencies of selling, and about the best ways of doing things. And from that point on, I kind of began to identify as an auctioneer. And I began to do more auctions. And at that time, of course, it was all live auctions that we did. As time went on and I began to build myself into this auctioneering career, I realized, wow, there's a lot of auction companies that have been around for a long time. The biggest auction companies that did the vast majority of the business had been around forever. I mean, they had tenure that I didn't have. And you know as well as I do, Kristen, as a business, you know, just simply from a business decision, you've got to set yourself apart. You've got to offer something different. You got to be better at something. You got to do something in a different way that's more appealing. And so the race began. You know, where could we grow? How could we improve upon what is happening now? How can we offer a better service? How can we make it less stressful for people? Because that's one of the things I noticed right in the beginning is my clients are always really stressed. This stuff really, really bothers them. And I just kind of caught on to that right away. And I began to look for options. I mean, it sort of in my mind at the time was, it is what it is. There's no way to make it less stressful. And as I studied and learned and researched and dove deeper into this space and the world, we were at a time where the internet especially was changing the world and the way we communicate and the way we did business. And eBay auctions were a thing. A lot of auctioneers in the world were upset that eBay existed. There was a big argument that people selling on eBay should have to be licensed like auctioneers, just like a regular auctioneer does. Yet here was these people taking their own stuff online and selling stuff or selling stuff for other people without an auctioneering license. And so that fight ensued and history moved on and time marched on to the point where I saw this opportunity to make life easier for not only my clients, but also the buyers. And so I thought, I wonder if you could sell real estate in an online auction. And I looked up and I kind of found some examples clear out in the Southwest United States where there was this small website that was offering land for sale, and you could actually make an offer online. It was pretty rudimentary. It wasn't really a bidding system, but there was this form you could fill out on the listing where you could actually make an offer online. I thought, wow, that's kind of a neat process where you don't even have to talk to somebody. You can just kind of, maybe feel things out a little bit. And from there, I visited with a software company that was out in West Virginia, began to talk to them. And they said, that's probably something we could do. So long story short, we built a kind of a rudimentary bidding platform and, kind of worked on the process and trying to mimic the live auction process, but in a software format, in an online format. And I think we did 2 auctions on that system before that software company ended up going bankrupt. And so it was back to the drawing board. We had to start over. And we began to experiment using third parties. We began to experiment using multiple online platforms that could bring them together. You would use one for lotting, but then another for the actual auction itself. And none of that stuff really was perfect. I mean, none of it just really came together just right. It was effective because we sold a lot of farms doing that, but it was too complicated. We sat down one day and we said, we have to spend the money to go out and buy or to build our own from scratch. Not a third party, not something that belongs to somebody else, not something where somebody else controls the data or has access to your data or shared with other auctioneers. We want to build something completely unique that is us. So that was where bid capture came from. We began to develop that software back in 2017. And today, as far as I know, it's the only software that's built just specifically to have a land auction on. And, I often say the third-party providers don't work for that. And the reason for that is because oftentimes they don't have the fields or the process can't really mimic what you would see in a live land auction. So for example, a generic software it's not going to have a field for soil qualities, for example. It's not going to have a field for taxes or breaking down the taxes or have the ability to have a multi-parcel auction. Those softwares are built for selling one thing. Like for example, offering a refrigerator or a couch or a diamond ring or a tractor. They're not made for offering real estate, which is so much different. The auctions conducted for real estate are so much different than the auctions that are conducted for personal property. They're just done in different ways, as well as the methods that we use to do those things. Oftentimes we'll sell, hold, sell again. Third-party platforms are not built to do those things, but our system is. And oftentimes we sell real estate in choice or multi-parcel format. And again, those third-party providers are not built to do those things and can't effectively do those. So that's why we built our software. So now we're up to the point where we started off initially 100% of our auctions were live auctions. And now we're nearly to the point in our company where our auctions are around probably 90% online auctions. So we've almost completely flipped it. We still do the live auctions and we're glad to, and I bet you that we continue to do those forever. There's always going to be sellers that prefer that. for one reason or another. You know, I know that we're going to have several upcoming this fall that are going to be big auctions that are going to be live in person, but again, they're coupled with the online bidding. So you're still getting the benefit of that online bidding. And it's become, there's so many people today, and I assume that we'll talk about that, here coming up, that are getting into the online land auction. But now we're a decade into this. We learned so many lessons over a decade of doing this, all of the ins and outs. There's a lot of mistakes to be made if you're just starting off in it.
Yeah, I think, and that's so interesting. I don't know how in depth you want to get into that, but what was it like in those early days when you were figuring this out because no one had done it before? And what did you learn that got DreamDirt to where it is today?
Oh boy, I'll tell you, there's so many things. I hate to brag about my mistakes, but I guess I own them. They're mine. Um, I can say we never made a mistake for a client that ever affected anybody, but oftentimes the mistakes of the learning process of the learning curve was often in buyer behaviors, especially. I think the buyer behaviors became a real big part of what we were doing, and what the project kind of ended up boiling down to was really studying the buyer's journey. An online auction is less about the seller. It's about the seller in the sense that it reduces their stress. And it really does. I mean, we just had one yesterday where we sat at the kitchen table with the sellers last night. We just had a fantastic auction yesterday in Harrison County, Iowa for the Berry family. And I sat right at the kitchen table. Nicole, Rick Watson, and I all sat at the table with them as the auction was playing out. And in the end of that thing, they were nothing but complimentary. They really loved it. And we asked them, could you imagine having to go into a room in a live auction format, look at all these people and feel those feelings? And they absolutely couldn't. They just loved that process of doing that. So, the things that we learned in the beginning, what it was like was really became this process of learning about the buyer's journey. How does the buyer feel? What can make the buyer react the best way? Because again, that's to the seller's benefit. That's who we're representing. We're not trying to trick the buyers by any means. We want to make them as comfortable as possible so they perform the best that they can. So as we began to learn about this buyer's journey, we began to learn about their complex relationships with the other people in their community, and what it's like to go into a live auction and look people in the eye and have that social friction and understand the social hierarchy amongst that community and all of those people led us down this path that allowed us to build this online process that makes life so much easier for the buyer. And so I think that was a lot of our lessons in the beginning, was really kind of boiling that down, learning the science of it, and then making our process really mimic what is best for them. And it's tough to articulate and put into words exactly what we learned, but that was I think the crux of it was really getting that buyer's process down to a point where they're so comfortable that they're willing to bid to their maximum ability. And that's what our process does. That's what, if you're jumping into online land auctions today, that's what you don't know. That's what you can't, you have to learn it too. And it took us 10 years to this point. And I bet you that we're still learning. We might not know it, but I'll bet you we're still learning about things, still refining our processes. And that's going to go on throughout the rest of life for all of us.
I think definitely. And yeah, we have some really exciting projects we haven't quite announced yet that are coming down the pipeline. I think that are a result of how much we've learned and how much we're still improving. So pretty exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, no, there's some super exciting stuff coming up. And I really do. I agree with you a lot that's really just kind of the reward of having learned so much and grabbing people's attention with what we're doing. There's a lot of people really paying close attention to what we do right now.
Yep. Well, let's talk about what we do right now. I don't know if Rachel could kind of help guide us through this, and if Jason, if you want to share your screen, but we have Rachel Hoy on, and she does a lot, almost all of the behind the scenes work on our online land auction platform, building all the auctions, helping the auctions run smoothly on auction day, moving increments around. I don't even know the half of it, but Rachel, if you could talk about kind of the bidder experience on our online land auction platform, how people register, how they place bids, how can people watch our land auctions, what do they look like, all that stuff.
I sure can. And I think I might have to share my screen because I don't know if it'll show me talking if Jason shares his screen. So let me, says the host disabled it.
Let me look at this. Okay.
But Well,
There we go.
I'm gonna
You
fix
should be
it.
on. You should be able to do it now.
Okay.
How's that?
Um,
I see something.
do both of you see bid.dreamdirt.com?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. So for all of our viewers watching, you can find all of our online auctions at bid.dreamdirt.com. And one of the exciting projects that will be happening in the next few months is that we are redesigning our whole website. So this might look different in just a few months, but this is what our current online bidding place looks like. You just go to bid.dreamdirt.com, and our first online auction is our farm bid auction that closes every Thursday at 2 p.m. But if you scroll down, you'll find our land auctions. So this is our next one coming up in Warren County. So I'll just click right into this title and I'll open up the online auction just for this Warren County 20.53 acres. So you can view the auctioneer's comments, the sale method, and then it looks like it's only one lot, and it might not be loading because my internet's just a tad slow. But you'll see that we have our video first, and then you can scroll through the pictures as well of the land. And then you can find all the details that Jason was kind of mentioning, how we've tailored our bid capture software to have all these different fields. So it really resembles a land auction. Like you said, the soil productivity rate, the taxes, all of that are separate fields. You can find the seller information, the bid history, all these other fields as well. The soil maps and aerial maps are included down below too. And then off to the right, you'll see, sorry, the picture is still loading over here. Usually it doesn't do that. It's just because my internet is a little slow today. But you can see who the high bidder is. It only displays your bidder number. It does not display your name. So if you're bidding on our land auctions, you'll just see your bidder number. And then you'll see what the current bid is. So right now, the highest bid is $3,500 per acre. So that's times the 20.53 acres. And something really unique about our online land auctions is that we can make the quantity to the exact decimal as well, which you can see here. You can see that there has been 7 bids and that this is the total. And then the next price is, so
Hey,
the
Rachel,
bidder will have to bid, what?
Rachel, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
That decimal point is one of those things that we learned the hard way, isn't it?
Yeah, we only had it, so that was one of the unique fields that we had changed and developed because we noticed that a lot of our land auctions were actually to the decimal point, which also helps the sellers and the buyers know exactly how many acres they are getting when they bid, unlike just rounding this one out to 20 acres or 21 acres and making it confusing for everyone. So the decimals really help.
Yeah, and that was one of the things on the third-party platforms. They didn't handle decimals, and it never made sense to give away a fraction of an acre for somebody. And buyers didn't respond very well if you decided to round up to the next number. So having things to the exact number in the decimals was again a part of the improvement that we made. That really is a good thing for both sides.
Yep, so it'll just keep going down. So the next price that someone would have to bid is $3,750 per acre. And that's because our bidding increment right now is set for $250. So it's just adding 3,500 plus 250 to get the 3,750 per acre. You can see that bidding ends Tuesday, August 18th at 2 p.m. This is typically when we have all of our land online auctions end is 2 p.m. and it'll show the time remaining. And this is where bidders can actually bid. They can either click this quick bid button, which will just bid one time for them, or if they'd like to, they can put in their highest bid. So say they want to bid up to $5,000 per acre. They would type 5,000 right there, and I clicked on it, and I'm not logged in. So they would just type 5,000 right here, submit my bid. And what that does is that if you're not around the computer, say August 18th at 2 p.m., you're off doing something else, you're busy working on the farm, the computer recognizes that you put in a high bid of $5,000. And as long as someone outbids you, it'll work up to that 5,000. As long as someone actually outbids you. So you could win the farm at 4,000 even. But this just helps protect bidders as well if they're caught doing something that day, but still want to be able to bid on the farm. You can also see how many times the land auction has been viewed, which is kind of cool, and able to share it on any of these platforms.
And Rachel, I might add on that, that counter where people can view that.
Yeah.
I've been asked at times by sellers, why do you include that on there? You know, what if the number was low and we didn't want people to see it? You know, that's a part of the buyer's journey. The buyer, one of the buyer's main questions almost all the time is, well, have you had a lot of interest in this? That gives them an opportunity to judge how dedicated they're going to be to the process and how much interest there is in it. The number of times that that page has been loaded is right there. If it says 200, you might think, wow, you know, there's not a lot of interest in this property. But at the same time, if it's 2,000, 3,000, then you're going to have an idea that it's time to compete and it's time to play the game. I mean, it's going to be for real deal. I don't think we've ever had one ever land under 1,000. And we've had some, there was one, I think the auction page itself was loaded like 9,000 times. So, you know, that's a ton of interest. And it's a little bit of an ability for the seller as well to gauge while they're sitting at home. You know, we know a lot of our sellers watch their auction on a daily basis. They go in and they take a look at it and see if the bids are changed or, you know, what's moving on or what bidder numbers in the lead right now. And that number gives them the same sort of indication of how many people are looking at it and what type of interest there's going to be on the farm by the time the end comes.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that these bid increments, we do control all of them, and that's something I help with on auction day, is that those bid increments will decrease as the bidding kind of works up and when the time remaining kind of counts down as well. So
and that again was a part of mimicking that live auction process, because that's how a live auction works. That, you know, the auctioneer starts out in the largest increment and then eventually breaks the increments down. As bidders start to slow down, as bidding slows down, the increment needs to be halved every time. That is, again, something that third-party softwares couldn't, or can't, or didn't want to do. But it was something that was absolutely essential for us to be able to mimic the process correctly. We want to take that power from the live auction, because there's nothing wrong with live auctions. They're good auctions. It's the social friction is the one thing that I understand can affect the results. We took the full power of that live auction and moved it into an online process, which to me, you now have the power of the live auction, but you also have the lack of social friction. And that is the absolute best situation when you're selling a farm. I just can't, I never articulate. I don't have the right words to say how powerful that is of a way to sell a farm.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a lot of benefits just, you know, from the little things that Rachel has pointed out. I mean, you pointed out, you know, with that bidder number, the anonymity, taking away the social friction. But the thing I also wanted to point out was our sellers are looking at this auction 5 days before auction day, seeing what that price is at. And obviously you've talked to them, they're your clients and stuff, but in a lot of cases, we've had sellers going to bed easy the night before, or 2 nights or 3 nights before their auction, knowing where their price is at. They're not going into auction day having no clue what it'll bring. You know, you'll see the majority of the bidding happening the last couple of hours before the auction closes. So, but that seller gets to go to bed the night before knowing how much interest there's already been and how many more hours are left before that auction closes.
Exactly. That, you know, that's something that I want to talk about real quick too, is for years, I managed clients in the live auction process. Okay. I always tell people this: in a live auction, you get 30 minutes of bidding. In an online auction, you get 30 days of bidding. And that 30 days of bidding kind of strings thing out. It's a longer process. But at the same time, like you just said, we have so many sellers that aren't walking into a live auction the next day with bags under their eyes, look like they haven't slept in days, because I dealt with so much of that over the years where they would walk in and just, I mean, honestly, just look like they've been through heck and back again because they're so stressed out. Now, I think you guys helped remind me because I can't remember. I think our record right now is we would achieve seller's reserve 8 days before the end of an online auction. Is it 8 days? I think that that's our record right now, but oftentimes,
Over a week,
you know,
yeah.
1 or 2 days. We've had some that were 4 days where they've achieved the seller's or the seller's expectation 2, 3, 4 days ahead of the end of the auction. So from that point out, it's literally, it's just, you know, it's like coasting downhill for them. There's all smiles, no stress. They're not worked up. Now, all of a sudden, the process becomes somewhat fun, as fun as it can possibly be for them to go through this process. But without that stress now, and going to bed, sleeping well the night before, being able to make good decisions, and just generally not having those negative, bad feelings that you just never want to go through. We always got them through the live auctions and they always got a good result. They always smiled afterwards, but it was that 48 hours leading up to it that was really rough in the process for them.
Yeah, I just want to quickly show our past auctions and show how yesterday's looked like. So at the top, if you just go to, my Zoom thing is in the way. I might have to make my screen smaller. Okay, if you go to online bidding and past auctions, you can view all of our past results on this page. And here was yesterday's auction that Jason was mentioning. So you just can click right into it. And this one had 2 tracts of land. So it actually has 2 lots. So you can view both lots right here. Or if you'd like to view just one lot, you would click on tract 1 and see what tract 1 just brought. And you can see that the final bid was $4,900 an acre, and it has all the same information that I pointed out in one of our current auctions. Jason, was there anything else you wanted me to share, or do you want me
No,
to?
I think that was a good overview for somebody that's just generally trying to learn about our system. I think that that's a really good look at it. And certainly if they wanted to contact us, we could go in more depth and have a Zoom call with them specifically, or do a consultation with their family. So you did a really good job with that, Rachel. Thank you.
Yep, and just to register to bid, you would just go to this login tab. I think that's the only other thing. You would click register to bid, and it's all right there. Or just go to bid.dreamdirt.com/register. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Perfect. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was really
when they get to that
informative.
register screen, it has some help numbers too. If they had difficulty or wanted to understand the process better, if you're a bidder and interested in that there's some numbers on there that you can call too if you need help.
Yep, I think your number and my number and maybe Nicole's is all on there. So those are our cell phones, and you can reach us directly if you have troubles or just need some help.
Yeah, perfect.
Honestly, that's also awesome. I'm working on setting up some different accounts right now, and I always get connected to a robot, which is so frustrating. So I wish that all companies just gave me the direct cell phone line to whoever's in charge of it. That's a
You
good
can get
feature right
right
there.
to the right to the right person here. And I've
Yes.
actually helped people set up bidder accounts while I was driving a boat and casting the rod with the other hand. So doesn't matter when it is, give us a call and we'll help.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
a lot of people are surprised too. If you call at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I still try to answer my phone call just to make sure you are registered and ready to go the next day if the land auction is closing. So feel free to call whenever, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Yep.
I didn't know if you guys had a couple stories. Jason, you always have stories up your sleeve, but a couple stories or examples of online land auctions that stick out in your memory and that do a really good job of proving how amazing this platform is for our clients.
I can tell you a story that will bring together one of our first questions early on in this live, and also meet the criteria for this one, a story. And it probably was one of the first tillable land auctions that we decided to run online as an online only. And it was going to be all online bidding. And I mean to tell you, like it had never been heard of before. It literally had never been done in this area. Never been done with tillable farmland. Nobody had ever heard of it. When we launched it, I suppose it was like the first time you heard of Google and you said, a what? I've never heard of that before. Now today, everybody knows of it. It's like the first time you heard of Amazon. Before that, you didn't know anything about it. Amazon was sort of a foreign concept. Shopping online seemed sort of odd. Like, why wouldn't you just go to the store to do that? Today people are buying all kinds of stuff off Amazon. They don't give it a second thought. It's like when before eBay, you'd never heard of an online auction, but here was eBay all of a sudden. So such was the same with this particular auction. And in this particular auction, there was a reason. The seller simply didn't want to have a live auction. She didn't believe that it was the right thing. She was the executor for the estate. And on top of that, her dad had told her before his passing, don't sell my farms at an auction. She loved her dad dearly and she wanted to honor his wishes. And there was no way she was ever going to go against him. In fact, she'd adopted his opinion that a live auction was a bad thing. And I couldn't ever figure out why. And it wasn't my job to dig in that deep and really find out why, but they were adamantly against it. Yet these were 90 plus CSR farms that would have done amazing in a live auction. We knew that an auction was the perfect way to sell these. We knew that a listing really wasn't the right way because we were afraid that buyers were going to come in and just try and beat them down. You weren't going to have that competition of a bunch of people. So we thought now might be the chance of doing this tillable land, as an online only auction. Up to that point, we had done a lot of hunting type properties, timbered combination type properties with real estate, residential real estate on them. But we had never done a tillable farmland auction that was just straight tillable farmland. The moment that thing went out the door and hit the internet waves, people were perplexed. Never heard of it. My peers were contacting me thinking, asking like, what are you doing that for? Why wouldn't you just have a live auction? You can't sell that stuff online. It's not going to work. So we were careful to thoroughly advertise, to very carefully explain to bidders exactly how to participate in this thing. And this is in one of my ebooks, this same story, because it just sticks out to me so much, that we finally get down to the day that the bidding is going to end and nothing has happened. The sellers are going to meet with us in our office and they're going to watch the close of this thing. But as of that morning, we don't have anybody that's bid on it or registered or anything. Nobody, in our mind, we're thinking they should have been bidding by now. But we don't know. We're inventing this process. This is all brand new. It's just a part of pioneering or blazing a trail for something that's never happened before. So as they come into our office, we are now nervous. And I mean nervous, like, wow, did we blow it? Is this thing, this seems like a bad deal. What are we going to say to our clients when this thing doesn't play out the way we expected it to play out? Well, we better come up with a plan B now. And we actually sat down and began to talk with the clients in person. And at a point in the morning, I believe that the ending was maybe like a 10 or 11 a.m. Ending. We were meeting with the clients fairly early on. And all of a sudden the phone started to ring and it started to act like literally like we were having a live auction on that particular day. Nobody had even contacted us, but all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and not just ringing. I mean, it's like 5, 6 people, like real fast. And so we're talking with these people. I'm like, well, maybe this is going to work out. These people are, they're calling now and they're talking about it, but kind of down to the wire, just within a couple of hours of the ending of this auction. And at this point, we're having conversations with the seller. We're, working on helping people get registered in the process and everything. We're not really paying attention to the results, but all of a sudden it comes to my attention that the bidding on these farms has just exploded. I mean, just real fast. All of a sudden it's just happened that morning. And so now there's some hope. We realize, maybe we're going to actually end up getting there. And then it comes down to the closing time for this thing. And I can remember we're all just huddled around a computer watching in amazement as just bid after bid after bid after bid just keeps on coming in. And at a point you just get this giant smile and you're like, wow, that actually worked. That worked really, really good. That worked better than we thought it was going to. It was horribly scary up until about 2 or 3 hours ago, but now all of a sudden it's just like, this is amazing. This is the way to sell farmland. So it was at that point that I really became convinced, and we did a really good job on those farms. That auction turned out so well, and the world took notice. I mean, to tell you, I had peers messaging me, texting me, sending Facebook messages, saying, "Hey, I'm watching this thing. That's pretty cool. How'd you do this? How'd you do that?" The reverse was true. Like, I don't even know why you would have done it like this. That doesn't make sense. There was a certain amount of negativity that we had to walk through. Change is never easy for people. And, that was one that we really went through it on. But at the end of the day, just absolutely exceptional results. And that was the point where we said, okay, this is a way that we can really set ourselves apart. This is a way that, if we became the best at doing this, we could do really well at this type of thing. So from that point forward, we really began to concentrate on it, especially working with the software. The software was such a difficult part of it. We just couldn't get any of them third parties to get us what we wanted. It just never would work until we, had our own built. But another one that I really, that always sticks out in my mind when I think about the low stress to the sellers, was a farm that I sold in Calhoun County. And it was a small farm, but it was all that she had. It was her entire inheritance. It was what, it meant the most to her. And she was really nervous about having an auction, really didn't want to. She also really didn't want a negotiated sale process. She was sort of stuck in the middle. Well, what's in the middle of a negotiated sale process and a live auction? It's an online auction, and it's the best option in my opinion. So we had one for her. And with that particular auction, we had a live bidding or a live, spot where people could come and put bids in live or in sort of a live format where there's no outcry by the auctioneer, but they can come there and they can get help. And Rachel, you'll probably remember this in Calhoun County. We did it in that tavern right around St. Patrick's Day. I remember it was all decorated up in clovers and leprechauns and everything. And Phyllis Young was her name. And there's a video on our DreamDirt page of me and Phyllis. And she was so incredibly thankful after that. It really hit her how much stress she avoided by going through the process as an online auction. She was so thankful that she wanted to record a video with me after the auction. She really wanted to tell people. It was really important to her to get the word out that when, what they're telling you about these online auctions really is the real deal. It saved me so much stress, and I really appreciate what they did. That's one that really sticks out to me. There's been so many others where the multi-track, the big auctions, the number of people participating in them are, they're pretty notable, but at the same time, maybe not much of a story there.
Yeah, I love those, and I remember all those, and you have so many more of them in your ebooks. So that's a really great resource, kind of walks people through, especially our most recent ebook, walks people through your journey to get where we are now. And one of my questions was, how is DreamDirt's online bidding platform different than everyone else's? We kind of touched on this earlier, but I think the best way to summarize that is it's built for land. It's built to have land auctions, and it's not just a generic platform. It's not a third-party platform. You developed it yourself. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I do. I want to add something to that. So Rachel went over some really good points. She pointed out sort of the consumer-facing side of things, the obvious, what you can see. But that said, a big part of our system is in the not so obvious. It's in the methods. It's in the workflow. It's in how things progress from forward to end. It's a lot in how we engage the bidders and the way we engage the bidders. So a lot of those things, they're not forward facing, but there are a lot of times other softwares weren't capable of doing those types of things, like sending out a text message to a bidder at a particular time, what that text message would say, when they're going to receive emails, how they can sign up for the updates and control their account. All of those are things that you really can't see, or Rachel can't show you on the forward facing side, but they're a part of the magic behind the curtain. They're a part of that makes the reason that our auctions never fail. The reason that they always come out so well is because I think that when we went back to learn about that buyer's journey, and we kind of, we learned the emotion of it, we learned the science of it, we learned every aspect of this buyer's journey. And then we went into our system. We said, let's build our system to fully take advantage of all of this knowledge that we've built on these things, make it super simple for the buyers so that it's less stressful for the sellers. And there's so many of those things you can't see. So that's what I would add to that.
I can add something as well that I forgot to kind of mention, and it's how our online land auctions close. So it's set for 2 p.m., but extend bidding can actually happen. So everyone gets a fair chance to bid. Someone can't just bid at the last second and it close. If someone bids in the last second, we extend it for 2 minutes. And then also how the lots can be linked together. So the lots can stay open together. If someone's bidding on one lot, this one will stay open until both have no more bids coming in those last 2 minutes that extend bidding had open.
I think our soft close process is just genius. Yeah, I mean, I just love how we do it. And not only just in the extension, we can control every aspect of that. So, we can set it to say if somebody bids in the last minute, extend it to 3 minutes. If somebody bids in the last 2 minutes, extend it 6 minutes or extend it 1 minute. We have full control over every aspect of that. And every type of property is just a little bit different. And we can change that on the fly. Typically it's written into the terms and conditions, so we wouldn't, but if it was necessary to do that, we can change those things very quickly. But then, like Rachel said, not only do we have the soft close process on a per lot, but we have a soft close process or soft close groups based upon a series or a group of lots. And that really, I think, is an amazing part of our process, in the fact that we're able to give those bidders the option to continue to go back and forth between tracks as they're trying to make a financial decision bidding on land in an online land auction. If, all of a sudden track 2 gets too high and they now have made a decision that it's more financially effective for them to go back and bid on track 1 because of its price versus its potential to realize income, they still have that possibility. That is really, really cool that they can go from 2 to 1 to 3 to 5 to 1, and just continue to go back and forth and continue to evaluate the financial performance of each one of these individual tracks in the slow close group or in the soft close group as the auction continues. That when it comes to land auctions, I've never seen anything like it. I really love what we did there and how we did that.
Yeah, again, another result of just you've been through the years with this, and
Yep.
every time you run into an issue, we just add more stuff, and that makes the platform that much better. So
Yep.
let's round out with talking about how many online land auctions we have coming up in the next few weeks.
Oh boy. There's a bunch of them. Rachel probably got a better handle on it than I do right now, but there's not only is there a bunch of them coming up, but we just closed a good one yesterday. That one in Harrison County went so well. 6,000 acres, $6,000 an acre on that southern tract. And again, that was a tract where the land was about like this. It was pretty rough. It was good land, and it was in a really, really nice spot. But it was amazing how many phone calls that I got on that thing yesterday morning from people that one was a bidder that had picked apples on that particular tract of land 30 years ago. He had actually worked for him and picked apples there, and he had sort of the sentimental reason for wanting to bid. Now, he wasn't successful, but he sure helped us out, and we appreciated that. He helped move the price up. Then on the other tract, I had several people tell me that it wouldn't bring 4,000 an acre, and it sold for 4,900 an acre, well above what a lot of people were estimating that tract land is going to sell for. On top of that, we've got coming up, a land auction in Warren County, Iowa. We've got one coming up, a real nice one in Calhoun County, in 2 tracts. That's the Hebner Trust, 143 acres split into 2 of them. If you're looking for a dry farm in Calhoun County, and dry, I mean, it's not a wet farm. That is a really, really good one. You can go back and look at historical imagery on that thing and see that that's a dry farm. It's either well tiled or it just lays right. And I think that it has a combination of both of those things. Then we're moving up to Hancock County. We've got a nice farm up there, 173 acres. And it's going to be sold in 2 tracts. And the northern tract on that one has a farmstead on it that if somebody's looking for something to raise livestock, got kids coming into 4-H projects, or just want a livestock operation, the farmstead on this thing's around 7.5 acres. It's got 2 big pastures attached to it. It's got a barn. It's got a couple of other outbuildings with it. Got a nice house, 3-bedroom home. And that one's the John Kruger Trust. And it's going to be sold in 2 tracts. So you'll be able to buy the farmstead with the northern tract, which I think is around 92 acres or so. Don't quote me because I'm not looking at the figures right now. And then the southern tract's around 79, 80 acres on the southern tract of that one, but they're touching. Certainly you could buy both of them and have the whole thing right there, mile long rows. It's a really, really nice farm. What else we got going on, Rachel? Did I mention the one in Warren County? I know Tom's got one in Warren County.
There's one in Guthrie County.
Oh, yes. That Guthrie County farm, one of our agents, Michael Pfeiffer, has that one listed. Real good farm. That one's going to be ending over the next couple of weeks too. I think that one's 177 total acres on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff, and lots of exciting stuff will roll out also in the next couple of weeks. So we're always working on stuff behind the scenes too. So it's exciting to watch that whole process from beginning to end.
We do have some machinery auctions coming up as well. That most notably that Jim Baker estate down there around the Creston area. That's a really nice line of John Deere equipment. So we do sell some machinery and estates and stuff like that as well too. I know that we're going to have some big announcements coming up on some really good farms. One particularly very notable one that's going to be selling in central Iowa that I think a lot of people are going to pay attention to, as well as probably a couple up north yet as well too. So I think there's some really, really neat things coming.
So if anyone watching has any questions about online land auctions or just want to chat with Jason, pick his brain a little bit, you can always give him a call, contact us through the website, DreamDirt.com, contact us through our Facebook page. We all watch that. Request our ebooks. We have tons of resources for everyone, and we're just here to help you out and guide you through a successful auction. So.
Yep. And that Facebook page, message in the Facebook page, they might get 7 people to answer them at one time because that thing's really well monitored. So if you just click message this page, you're going to get about everybody in our company all at one time. We'll decide who's going to answer you, but it'd be pretty hard to miss us on that thing.
Yes. So we're really easy to reach and really happy to answer any of your questions. So with that, I think that concludes our Facebook Live for the day. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks Jason and Rachel for jumping on.
Yes, and all of our best to all of those out there cleaning up from storm damage. We wish you the best, and you're in our thoughts and prayers.
Yep. All right, everyone. Have a good week.